Welcome, friends, back to the BoxCast podcast. My name is Gary. I'm your host. Obviously, you come here for me and not for BoxCast. Maybe it's for all of us. I don't know. But today, we have a really cool guest, Josh Nassar with Budget Church Livestreaming. I mean, he really nailed it with the SEO, and we get to talk about that here in a minute. But Josh is an up-and-coming YouTube content creator. He's also a servant leader in his church. And we're going to talk to him about everything, about how he got started and kind of where he sees the direction of budget live streaming for your church going. So let's jump right into that podcast episode. Josh, welcome to the BoxCast podcast, man. How are you?
I'm great, Gary. I'm super stoked to be here.
Now, where are you at in the country? Are you in Nebraska or are you in Switzerland? Where are you in the world?
I'm actually in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Okay. All right.
Smack dab in the middle of the country,
Yeah, Tornado Alley, right? You're like right in the middle of that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a pretty calm year so far, but you never know.
It's great to have you onto the podcast. Thanks for coming aboard. Let me give some context to our friend here. As we described in our intro and our welcoming, Josh has a YouTube channel called Budget Church Livestreaming. And Josh, I'm just going to say, fantastic SEO word choices there.
I just believe in calling things what they are, right?
You nailed it, man. That was perfect. I looked at that. I was like, this dude has got it. He's got it. But absolutely, Josh has a YouTube channel, Budget Church Livestreaming. It's a growing channel, man. I'm excited to watch your journey and your content go and increase and your viewership increase. But the cool thing is, like, the thing that drew me to you in intention was a video from about a year ago that you had on here, was the 5 tips to make your live stream actually good. That's really the thing that brought me on board to see you and to follow and start watching more of that content. And then you've really just kind of pushed more stuff out recently. You had with Pro Presenters announcement, you did a really awesome video with the Pro Presenter announcement and how they're charging people more money for less stuff. So that was fantastic. So if you haven't subscribed to Josh's channel, please check the link below and absolutely go subscribe today. But today, Josh, we talk about you. We talk about why you started your channel and kind of some of the information you can give us. So let's start there, man. Give us a little bit of the history as to how your channel started or why you got into this. What do you do for a living outside of make cool content and just absolutely look like a modern worship pastor, whatever it is?
For sure. Well, I'll start kind of at the beginning. I actually full-time work as a software engineer. I don't do church production full-time at all. So that pays the bills, keeps me busy. But, I served in my church for a while. I actually was playing keys in our worship band for a few years. And then in January of 2020, I went to my pastor and said, hey, I feel like I could be doing more. Do you have anything you want me to kind of jump into? And he was like, we've tossed around the idea of live streaming a little bit. You're technical, like maybe you could kind of head that up maybe later in the year. I was like, yeah, sure. And then, like a month later, it was like, oh, actually we need that like tomorrow. Like every other church in the world too.
At that time. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I know that.
Great timing. And I was like, like I've touched a camera before, but I don't really know anything about live streaming at the time. So I, went down a deep hole of YouTube videos, websites, everything I could find about church broadcast and live streaming in general. And we stood something up and it was fine. It was not the best by any means, but it kind of got us off the ground. And over the next couple of years, just continued to dive more into it and build it up more and more until I feel like, our broadcast is in a pretty cool place. And it just kind of got me thinking, like back when I started, and it wasn't that long ago. Again, we're talking 2020. Like there wasn't that much out there, I feel like, on how to actually like go from zero to having a church live stream. And that's changed over the past few years. I think a lot of people have kind of jumped on that opportunity. But even within that, there's even less that's like, here's how to do it without spending an arm and a leg and also like still have things actually look pretty decent. And so plus I just love getting into things and trying new things. So I said, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and kind of, try to share the things that I've learned through this and whatnot. So that's kind of the origin story.
And I think right now, man, you're nailing it. Like you've had Cade Young on with Collaborate Worship. Like I've seen that. That was good stuff. You went and did a tech tour in their building with him and Dylan, which is awesome. Cade and Collaborate are good friends of BoxCast and mine. Yeah. So great dudes, good stuff coming out of their channel. You hit the gambit of videos though, man. I mean, you go from, honestly, it's from like talking about how to do a super source on an A10 mini, just a few months ago, to what are your best camera settings a year ago, to, hey, what is how to get your audio better, or better cable management. Like your content, the cool thing that I like about it is that your content is not focused like hyperly down to one angle.
Mhm.
You're actually considering all of the angles that a church ministry person would actually have an issue with.
Yeah.
So talk to me more about that. Talk to me about what spurred your creative idea outside of, hey, I asked my pastor and he threw the plate at me a day after that to jump on this ship. Give me a little bit more of how your creative content comes about. Like, why are you doing the videos that you do and what brings those about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of it, the list I kind of came up with when I first started this was like trying to think back to 4 years ago and be like, what are all the things that I struggled with when I first started this? And again, I played keys in the band, so I had some amount of knowledge of like church tech, production tech, but not like a ton. And as it turns out, live streaming kind of pulls every single aspect of it together, whether it's video, whether it's lighting or sound or whatever. Like there's so many different elements that get pulled into that. And so I think that's what makes it hard for some people getting started is it's like you don't just have to learn about cameras. You have to learn about all these different things and how they kind of tie together. And so that's something that I try to show in my videos is like there's a lot of pieces here. And me personally, like at this point, I'm definitely more comfortable with the actual video aspect of it, but like there's still other pieces that come together with it. And so I want to show that. And so, part of it is again, that list that I made a year ago of here are the things that I remember that I struggled with. But then some of it is week to week things that I struggle with or we're doing new at our church or I just come to mind of like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to kind of show that. So that's actually something that's hard for me is ideation in general. So if you're watching this and you have an idea for a video you want to see, drop it in the comments. Shameless plug here.
So one of your highest grossing videos that I saw, and it's actually kind of an obscure video. Like it's one of the videos I wouldn't think would have like the highest grossing viewership content, but it's actually like the $5 DIY tally lights.
Yeah.
Like that's
yeah.
getting like what 22, I think it was a 22,200 views or something like that when I last saw it.
Yeah, something
Dude,
in that neighborhood.
So the cool thing is like you matched it up with the ATEM switcher, like how to do it and how to come about that. So so when we talk about content creation, when we talk about the necessities of what you're doing in content creation and how those come about, was that out of a necessity? Was that out of something you were just like, we really need tally lights to tell my operators what they're doing? Or were you just like, I wonder what tally lights are?
Yeah, I don't remember the very beginning of that one, but I definitely, we had comms just like everyone else does. We had some headsets and whatever. And I had always seen tallies on cameras, like in bigger churches, they had them, usually more for, I think, the pastor's sake than the camera ops necessarily. But I was like, yeah, I mean, I wonder what it would take to have something like that, especially because I was constantly getting the question from my camera ops, like, am I still live? Am I still live?
Gotcha.
Because especially back in that day, we only had, I think, 2 cameras maybe. And so I would be hanging on them a lot longer than maybe I would be now, now that we have more options. And so I was like, how do we solve this problem where I'm not having to constantly just be like, yes, you're still live. Yes, like reminding them verbally. And so I did a little bit of research into it. And it's, in the video, I say it's not an original idea. I kind of stumbled upon this online of someone who had built these. And I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, I'm techie. I could probably build that. So got the materials, built them, and they worked great. And I was like, well, this is awesome. So,
yeah.
And the things I heard from my camera ops constantly is like, wow, these are awesome. Like these make a huge difference. I know when I'm live, I know when I'm coming up, whatever. Yeah. And so, like anytime I hear something from my ops who are volunteers who serve once or twice a month, and they think it's super positive, I'm like, well, probably a lot of other people will too. And, so I decided, yeah, let's make a video about it, especially because, the guide I had found it was all just text-based and stuff. And it's a little bit technical, especially if you don't see somebody doing it and realize like, oh yeah, I could probably still do this. So
yeah, for sure.
I thought it'd be kind of cool to share.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's a great video, honestly. It's really a good video. I thought I was like, that's the most obscure thing to think about, though. It's tally lights for a church, but it makes sense, So I think one of my favorite videos, though, out of all of them, is probably because we get burned quite a bit as church members or as church leaders. We get burned quite a bit when we go to like Sweetwater and we're like, yo, Sweetwater, I need to drop $300 on a microphone, yet you've got it at $8. Is there any way we can get a church discount there? But it's like one of the things. So, but one of my favorites was just a few months ago, you dropped a video that was buying used gear off of eBay, which I think is a practical thing to help churches understand. Like you can find good deals, good budget deals through used equipment usually, and other sources and other places. And it's one of my favorites because I actually used it. So it's funny. It's one of my favorites. But the thing is like the thing I want to kind of deep dive in with you about this is the practicality of these things that you're trying to help people with in the church, right? So Josh, being a ministry leader, running a YouTube channel, having a technical background, can you give me one of the biggest challenges that you struggle with as a leader in the church and how you're going about addressing that?
Oh man. Honestly, I think for me, one of my biggest challenges is taking on too many things. And I think that a lot of people in the church kind of run into that. I mean, even just you just naming off all of those things, right? Those different leadership roles or, career roles that I have, like, oh, that would take up a lot of time. And
Oh
it
yeah, for
does.
sure.
And so I think one of my biggest challenges is trying to raise up other people in the church and other volunteers to take some of that off of my plate, but not in like a selfish way of like, wow, I don't want this work, but in a way of we will be better if it's not just me doing it. One, because I will be less burnt out, and two, because I'll have more time to focus on other things. And also, like, we might find someone who's better at it than I am. But that's hard for me sometimes because I feel like I can do things pretty well. So why would I hand it off? And I think it's fun. It's hard to give away something that you really enjoy.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's probably like the leadership thing that I struggle with the most in this area.
You're not afraid of not being that guy then?
Yeah, I'm definitely not. Like, if somebody else wants to do it and can do it, I think up to the standard that I personally have set for it, like I am game to hand it off. Especially because I'm always willing to jump into the next thing. I mean, for example, like I said earlier, I was playing keys in the church beforehand, and then we started this live stream thing. And for a while, I was doing both. And it just got to the point I was like, I can't be doing both of these things. And I stepped away from playing keys. And honestly, I think my worship pastor was a little salty about it at the time because we only had one other keys player. And so it kind of put a lot of stress on him. But since then, we weren't looking for other keys players at the time because we were set. But after that, I mean, I think we've had 3 more people join the team, and I think most of them are better than I ever was. And so it's kind of opened that door for growth in an area just because I was able to step away from it.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
So that was an instance of me stepping away, opening the space, and then that having to get filled. Whereas usually I try to do it the other way where I fill the space before I step away. But
yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of the old adage. Like before you quit your job, you better have another one lined up, right? I totally get that. So flip the script then for you being a people manager at your church at this point, right? Because you run a tech team. Can you give us a little idea about your setup at the church? Tell me a little bit more. I mean, you've done through this in your own video, so you can go check out his channel. There's tons of videos there. He's got over 120. They're great, and there's one that specifically talks about this is going to change everything, and he goes over his church aspect. But give it to the people who are watching this now. What is a little bit about your church setup? Tell us a little bit about what you're using. Tell us how you've got that going, and then I'm going to ask you the tough question.
Yeah, for sure. So our church is kind of interesting in that we have our own building. It's on a city block, but we actually don't use it for our services anymore because we outgrew our auditorium space. So we actually share a wall with an old theater that's next door, and we cut a hole in the wall in 2020, and we now have services in that theater on Sundays. So we don't own the space that we meet in, which is
Wait,
tricky.
wait. Time out, homie. Wait. So you all rent the space next to the church, and you cut a hole in the wall that you rent.
So we have a door in between our buildings now. That's closed throughout the week, opens up on Sunday. Well, and a small part of this is there's actually a bar in between that the owners of the theater actually own. And so we actually walk through the bar into the theater on a Sunday morning. We pull down these curtains. You wouldn't believe the number of people who are like, I had no idea I was in a bar right now. We pull down the curtains. It's just like a little hallway. It honestly, like, the background of that story is super, super cool. Like, there's a lot of like seeing God work through that story that I'm not going to get into right now. But so it's a super cool situation, but also has its challenges, as you would imagine.
Okay, so you guys, the church has a bar, the church has a theater. Okay, we've got that down. By the way, I'm just kidding. If you're watching this, it's a joke. Okay, please don't get too sensitive. Anyway, so there's a in between area, and then you guys have this theater. Okay, so continue, Josh.
Yeah. So on a Sunday morning, so this theater does, I mean, it does shows, it does, tours and whatever. And so they've got an audio setup and a lighting setup. And so we use that on a Sunday morning. So we don't have to cart over our own audio stuff other than, our instruments and whatever goes on the stage, or our own lights. But everything video is our own, and we have to set it up and tear it down every week. And so, that's part of the challenge with everything that we do is it's not staying set up all the time. And so we have to make certain allowances for that. And also, like, we don't have full control of our lights. We can't put them exactly how we want them to, which is another issue that we struggle with. Or we don't have an area to mix our audio, which is another struggle. So we have a lot of things that we have to manage. And I think a lot of other churches do too. I mean, we're not the only ones. But so anyway, so we actually have like a little cart that I built that has all of our video equipment and stuff that kind of goes into it, and then we roll it over, and it kind of acts like a transformer. Things fold out. We've got all these extra shelves and drawers and stuff that hold all of our gear, and then we set it up and run the thing. So
acts like a transformer, and you got Optimus Prime over here on Sunday morning. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's kind of a running joke that every month something else gets added to this cart, just like hanging off the side. Like we've got a monitor on an arm that's just hanging off the side. But yeah, so as far as like gear goes, I mean, we've got 4 cameras that we set up. We run an ATEM constellation for all of our switching.
Okay.
We get a post fader mix from the soundboard coming in. It's not anything crazy by any means, but it gets the job done.
All right, now tell the people really what you're running for your live streaming software.
Oh, well, yeah. So like I said, we use an ATEM constellation for our switching, but then we have an ATEM Mini Pro sitting next to it that we run the outputs into, and we stream from that. And that gives us a couple advantages too. It's an ISO model, so we're able to record our program feed. We also send a clean feed into it to record that. I send the multi-view into it so I can record that for YouTube videos. And it just kind of acts as like this extra buffer layer between what's happening in the room and what's going online in case we ever need to delay something. We can be switching on our constellation, testing things, and still be sending our intro video or whatever to the stream.
Absolutely.
Which is nice.
Absolutely. Okay. And so what are you using for presentation software?
We use just an old MacBook Pro running ProPresenter, and it's the same feed going to the room as going to our stream. We just have to transform it a little bit on the ATEM to get like our lyrics in the lower thirds.
Yeah, absolutely. We do the same thing at my church. Like it's literally one thing, and then we do 2 feet. Yeah, I know the whole gambit. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's another thing. Like, maybe if we had our own space, we would put in a little bit of work to get a separate ProPresenter for that, so we could do a little bit more advanced stuff. But it's one of those things of we want to make sure that things in the room are the best they can be. We prioritize our in-person experience, for sure.
Okay.
Like, it's definitely a much larger audience than what we're reaching online. But also, like, we also need to be setting up and tearing down, so we can't do anything too crazy week to week, and we want to make sure it's sustainable. So setting up 2 ProPresenter computers and having to make sure that things are synced between those and whatever throughout the week is just, it's not sustainable for us right now. So that's not an area we've jumped into. And that's where, I mean, we make a lot of allowances because of that type of situation.
Well, and you're not needing to add like 5 or 6 more arms to that cart. So that way you have like a mobile, DEBCOM system where you're like, let's run our operation. Yeah, I get that totally. Okay. Yeah. And then just real quick, what cameras are you using?
So it's mostly one camera. We have one Panasonic G7, and then 3 G85s. And honestly, the G7 it was a little cheaper, and it doesn't have stabilization like the 85s do, but it's on a tripod, so we didn't need it. So we saved a few bucks there.
There you go.
I found it used with the lens I really wanted, so it kind of worked out.
There's that eBay thing again, baby. There you go.
Yeah, I think all of our cameras are used. I don't think we've ever bought a new camera.
Wow.
And maybe one new lens ever.
Okay. So how much would you say you guys started with when you started, and then like total cost? Just give me a rounded number where you started and where you're at now. What's the value and increase on that?
Oh man, when we started day one, I mean, it was probably we were using a lot of leftovers from the church, so it was probably close to like $4,000, $5,000 or so, like right off the rip. Total at this point, the last time I totaled it up was close to like 15,000.
Okay.
Over the course of 4.5 years.
Still not bad. I mean, that's
No.
actually, for a 4-camera setup that's mobile and you're running it through multiple ATEM systems and doing everything, that's not terrible. I've seen camera operation systems that are much smaller than yours that run 25,000 plus. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely those. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
Well, and a big
now,
part of that,
no, you're
too is
good.
like we've got 2 handheld wireless cameras, and those wireless transmitter receivers are $1,000 a piece. So it's like,
Yes.
there's a couple pieces of this that we have chosen to prioritize that we didn't need to. They were wired for a long time, and it just got to the point where I was like, this is getting too dangerous having cables running off of somebody's camera. We need to make those wireless, and
Absolutely.
So we're not against spending money. We don't have a lot to spend, but it's making sure that the money that we're spending is going to the right places.
Yeah, absolutely. So that leads me to my next 2 questions then. This is the deep dive I wanted to get into you.
Yeah.
Because you have all of this stuff set up, how hard has it been to train your volunteers to operate this equipment and to operate the software?
Honestly, not too hard. I think early on it was harder because one, I was training everybody all at once. Everybody on the team was brand new. We didn't have a team before. And 2, I didn't know what I was doing. And so it was the blind leading the blind a little bit. I'm like, oh, I watched these 500 YouTube videos last week. Here's all the stuff I learned. Quick, go. And it may or may not work. But now,
Right.
Now that we're 4 years in and I've gained a lot of knowledge, my team has gained a lot of knowledge and experience, gotten a lot of reps. It's a lot easier now. One, we're able to point them to our old streams and say, this is what our target is, right? This is what we're looking for. And so it's a little bit easier to be like, hey, you're supposed to move the camera this way or point it this way. And like, I have real examples of it from our stage, from our room. And this is what it looks like. 2, we have the multi-views, which I think that's a big part of it. When you get new camera ops and you start yelling in their ears, camera 2's live, like it freaks them out. They have no idea what's going on. Being able to send a multi-view to them and be like, hey, this is what it's like on a Sunday morning. They have a lot more knowledge of like going into it on day 1 of training.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is what I can expect it to be like. And here's how all the things kind of hook together. And then honestly, like people help each other. Now that we have more camera ops, I'm able to have some of my other ops help the new ones while I'm able to do other things. Like it's not as much of a time burden now on me because I'm able to kind of split that training up amongst team members. And yeah, I think our stream is more involved and more complicated than it ever has been. Like I think the skill level required is higher, but I also think that everything supporting that has improved, so it's easier to get to that point.
Right. Exactly. Well, and so my questions, the reason I'm asking those is because we find here at BoxCast, like even in myself, because I'm also a ministry leader, I do the same thing you do. Like I help run I actually play the bass and do it at the same time. It's really weird. Yeah. That's great.
That's crazy.
I've had our iPad like on the stage with nobody in the sound booth at some points because that guy's on vacation or or whatever's going on that day. Nobody showed up, so it's like, hey, okay, I'm gonna be mixing from the stage. It's great. Well, I better change my in-ear feed to mimic what I'm hearing.
I was gonna say it sounds good in my ears. Must sound good out there.
It must sound great. The isolation's amazing here. So, but and the reason I ask that is because there's some complexities to volunteers, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's some major complexities. I mean, you guys jumped headfirst into it, and you were told, hey, this is where we can serve, and guess what, you're going to do it now instead of 5 months from now. But there's some complexities with that, and BoxCast has found that the difficulties come with people not having the correct amount of knowledge and not having the experiential knowledge that I call it.
Mm-hmm.
I call it experiential knowledge, just because they don't have the experience behind it enough to know what they're doing. And so we've tailored our software and our hardware to be just as easy as you can go, plug and go. You don't have to do a whole lot of configuration. And so that led me to want to think about it with you today. Like, obviously you're teaching people through your YouTube channel how to do specific things. And it looks like, for me, you're not marketing to the worship leader. You're not like trying to reach the tech director. You're just trying to talk to average, everyday volunteers who might be experiencing these things in their church. And you're trying to offer up a bit of information about your experience and how you guys solved it. You're not, and honestly, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not out to change the world here. Like, this is not what I'm seeing, right?
No.
You're just out to better it.
Yeah,
you're just,
for sure.
Yeah,
I think, and that's kind of, I think making small incremental improvements, and this goes for anything, like over time is where you actually get somewhere. So like if I look at our stream now versus our stream when we first started, I mean the contrast is insane. But if I watch every week 1-to-1, like you're not going to notice it as much, right? You're like
Right.
slowly boiling the crab or whatever that saying is, or the frog, I think
Frog.
maybe.
It's the frog, bud. Hey, man, you're in Oklahoma. I know they don't have frogs too many times around there. I get it. It's all right. Crabs. I got plenty of crabs running around in Oklahoma. I totally get that, dude.
But yeah, like, you know, those small incremental changes, you know, that's what really makes the difference. And so I feel like that's kind of what I'm trying to do with the channel is like, hey, here's a little thing that you can do next time. And here's a little thing you can do next time. And
For sure.
those small things add up to big things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So with your volunteers, I want to hone down on this a little bit more.
Mhm.
With your volunteer base, how many people are you technically, because you have 4 cameras. I'm assuming one of those has got to be a static camera. And then you've got 4 cameras you're using. Are 2 of those the remote and 1 is just an extra? Or are you running like 4 total plus an additional 2?
So we've got 4 total.
Okay.
They're all manned.
Okay.
There's a person on every single one. One's on a tripod, one's on a dolly, and 2 are handheld.
Okay.
So yeah, so team wise, oh man, I really should know these numbers because we're really doing a lot with serve teams right now. But I think I've got 15 to 20 people like on our broadcast team specifically, that serve in any given month.
Not on the AV team, right? Not audio and video, but strictly your broadcast team.
Yeah.
So, what? How much are you paying these people, Josh? Because that seems like a lot of people to have. Yeah. Okay. We're giving them communion bread every weekend. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're feeding them, right? Wow. Okay. So
yeah,
that's
and
not talking.
You know, the way that works out is people usually serve once or twice a month. They're not, it's not a huge commitment to that. And that's why our team is so big.
Yeah, absolutely. And so do you find getting volunteers to be a struggle at all?
Honestly, I am always right on the cusp of not having enough people. You know, it's like every other month where I'm like, man, okay. Hey, anybody really want to serve one more time this month because we didn't quite get the schedule filled out. So I wouldn't say I'm hurting for them because I always have enough, but I don't have an abundance either. We're right on that line always. And I think part of it is, you know, people go through different life changes. Like, you know, there's a handful of guys on my team who just had new babies, and it's like, hey, I got to step away for a few months, and you know that totally makes sense. Like, it's hard on their family if they have to get to church at 8:30 in the morning, and you know they're serving the whole time or whatever. Or we have people move, or you know, a million things. You know, you're constantly leaking volunteers in different ways, and so you also have to constantly be adding those. So I would say we are always adding new people to the team, but we're also, you know, things just are moving constantly, and I think that's kind of the same everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. So I was contemplating the other day when I was like trying to figure out what we were going to talk about and how we were going to interact and what are the things I was going to ask you, and you just nailed it really, really easily for me. One of the things that I've always encountered in ministry, particularly, was I had a senior pastor tell me, not my senior pastor, but one from another church that we were part of, working with in partnership with things we were doing. At a meeting, he said, you know, we've come to realize that at our church, we're an airport. And he said, as an airport, people are shuffling in, they're staying for a minute, and then they're leaving. And he's like, so we've changed the way that we're doing ministry to acting as ambassadors for guiding them on their journey, but also equipping them for that journey ahead. And so with that mentality, with me telling you that, me saying that in mind, when you see rotation of volunteers coming in and out, you know, especially, you know, when you're leaking volunteers and then you're having to replenish that bucket, you know, with new volunteers, are you seeing that as a continuation for your volunteers? Like, are you guys in the mindset of doing the same thing as an airport where you're training these people up to a position or a place where they have these technical knowledges or skills that if they do leave, that they can take them with them? Is that something that you guys have as a mindset as a church? Because there's a lot of churches out there who are literally they're not getting 20 people just for the broadcast team, dude. You know, they're not. I mean, I can tell you right now, I'm not getting 20 people. If I get 20 minutes with one person, it's great, you know, but they're not getting that with one, you know. So how are you guys, like, how are you continuously building up your volunteers in that respect?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it, honestly, is just the culture of our church around serving. We have a like a new here little class that people come to when they're new at the church. We're having one this Sunday actually, and a
I'll be
big
there.
portion. Great, I'll put you on a camera right after.
Yes.
A big portion of that is talking about the different ways to serve the church, and I think
Right.
a big way that our pastor communicates it is this mentality of a family, which is not new. That's
No.
all over the place. But a big part of the family is you take part in what it's doing. You serve, you help cook dinner, you help clean up after dinner, whatever the case. And so our church, where we have 400 to 500 people or so on a given Sunday attending, that's like average attendance, I think. Don't quote me. I'm not the numbers guy. But our serve teams overall have 200 to 250 people spread across them. Not on a given Sunday, but like total sign up to service. Like, close to
Right.
50% of our church is serving in our church because that is the culture that we have. And
That's a huge
that is
number, Josh.
how you get involved. That's how you meet people at the church. That's how you build that community, is by serving on a team. And so I think that's not something that I have built. It's something that I contribute to, but it's not something that like I have built on my own. It's all the different pieces in the church as a whole. And so we get people on my team who they walk up and they're like, yeah, I just want to serve. And this kind of sounded like fun. And I'm like, awesome. Like, if you are
Wow.
just willing to learn this and have fun with it, like, that is the best type of person that I want on my team. Almost nobody on
Yeah.
my team had ever touched a camera before they joined the team, right?
Mm.
But we're able to create an awesome stream with it because they want to learn, they want to get involved. And so I think some of them could, when they go leave, they could go, run a camera anywhere. I think some of them maybe less so, and maybe they don't want to, but they're very happy to do it while they're here because that's where
Yeah,
they're
for
needed.
sure.
And so I think, you need some of both. And yeah, I think it can't just be the culture of the tech team. Like, it needs to be a church-wide feeling, vibe, culture, whatever words you want to put to that. Like, it takes
Right.
the whole place doing this.
Absolutely. And I assume you're mimicking that in your team as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a culture to serve. Obviously, I'm pretty sure, you guys wouldn't be growing and continuing doing what you're doing if you're not loving on the people that you're, who are help serving and continuously serve to bring services to all the people that need it. And especially in your community, you're growing that aspect too. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty good, Josh. It's pretty good. Okay. So now let's pivot real quick and let's talk a little bit more about your vision for where your channel, because I mean, your channel is still quite, I don't want to say small, but it's definitely growing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the cool thing about it, is it's growing. Not only that, but like, your video content has increased significantly, the quality has increased significantly, and that's just in 121 videos, man. So
Mm-hmm.
tell me the vision for the future here. Like, where do you hope to be in the next year with this?
Yeah, I mean, when I started this, I was like, I'll start making some videos. We'll see how it goes. I think
Okay.
I had it in my head, like, I'll do it for 6 months. We'll see what happens, and we'll
Okay.
decide if I want to keep going. And I decided, sure, let's keep going. And that's just kind of where we've been. And so I think personally, as long as I am having fun with it and I feel like I'm impacting people, I think I'll probably keep making videos, which is like the first half of this. As far as where I think it'll go, I mean, who knows, right? Like I was talking about before, those improvements day over day type of thing. That's more how I like to live my life. So if
Sure.
I continue seeing that with my channel and with what I'm doing here, then I think I'm happy with it. One piece of that, shameless plug, I guess, is that I'm actually building a course right now, and I think probably by the time this comes out, the course will be out. But we'll see.
Well,
And
listen.
so building stuff like that and just continuing to kind of grow what that looks like.
Well, listen, we're planning for the future right now. So when this drops, Josh's course will be out because he doesn't like OKRs, but we're going to set a timeline for him. If not, we'll put it in the description below. Go check out Josh's course on what he's doing there. And of course, your BoxCast will always be here to help Josh promote himself, because it's an awesome thing. I'm guaranteeing you it's going to be awesome. I have no idea what you're doing, but I'm going to tell you it's going to be awesome. So just, whatever you guys are out there in the Twitters, internet spaces, the internets, you guys drop on that. Okay. So cool. So you're just one of those, you're just one of those guys like, hey, we'll just do it. We'll do it. And we'll just keep going.
Yeah, just trying to
Okay.
help where I can. I mean, and it's been a lot of fun. I've been able to, hop on calls with some different churches and, help in more specific ways with them. And so that's been kind of a fun thing. And just kind of seeing where it takes me. Like this has opened up a lot of different opportunities for me to do some kind of cool things, see some cool things. So yeah, I mean, we'll kind of see. Like I said, I stay pretty busy. So if this ends up being like, wow, I don't have time for this, then maybe it'll fall off. But I don't know. I really like it. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it helps me get better at videography for one, but also just learning how to teach and storytell a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's a lot of rambling about what I may or may not do in the next year.
No, it's good,
so.
man. No, you're good. No. It's good because I want to know where you're at and where you're headed, and where you think you want to be or where you don't want to be, or what your ideas are. And the fact that you actually do have some sort of a game plan already in play. You're already developing a course, which is awesome. So, you want to continue that learning and that enablement piece, which is amazing. So just keep doing that. Yeah, that's absolutely on point. So let me then ask, because I know you're not a goals guy, especially in your job or at your YouTube channel. Let me ask you about your church then. Where's one, give me for a toss up here. Give me one thing that you guys are like super stoked that you did and it's working extremely well. And then give me the one thing that you're like, I hate this. I wish we could change it.
Okay. I think one thing that we did that worked really well, and I have a video about this, is our dolly camera. That has been a game changer in our streams. We used to just have a second tripod down where that camera is, and it was fine. It got like wide shots, whatever. But building that dolly and getting those shots just like really transformed our streams, I think. And then as far as something that like, wow, I really wish I could change. Like I said, we meet in a space we don't own, and it's awesome. It has a lot of pros. We get a lot of it's bigger than our churches, and so we obviously have benefit from that. But it comes with its real frustrations. I mean, like I walk in and I'm like, man, I wish I could move all of these lights because none of them are where I want them to be.
Right.
Or like, man, I really wish we could have a room where we could mix our broadcast audio instead of mixing it in the auditorium, wearing some in-ears, hoping that it sounds good. And I'm not just feeling the bass from the room, but actually hearing it in the headphones. But we like, yeah. But we've got challenges and we live with them. So, yeah. If anyone wants to like just give us a building, that'd be cool.
Oh, that'd be dope.
Comment down below if you've got a giant commercial space in OKC that you want to just like give us.
Yeah, you just want to totally hop into that boat and let somebody have it. Or, the bar and the theater just like, yeah, we're not going to use this anymore. It's yours. That'd be pretty cool too, right? So
awesome, we're speaking that into existence today.
Absolutely. Name it and proclaim it, bro. Let's go. All right. Well, listen, Josh, as we wind down our time here, I appreciate you coming on with me as our introductory to you and getting, your name and face out here in the BoxCast universe. And we love what you're doing. And, my producers are like, dude, that guy's content's good. So we're so stoked to see you grow and be part of that. And we want to continue to help you on your journey as well. So, so I just pick door number 1, 2, or 3. We're going to give you a prize. No, I'm just kidding. That's not going to happen, Josh, but yeah, man, tell everybody here in the BoxCast universe of, people who watch and listen and kind of go through this, tell them where they can find you. Tell them what, all your, your socials, your Twitters, your internets is, give them your cell phone number if you want, tell them your home address, whatever, your social security number, just go for it, man.
Yeah, for sure. My social security number is 345. But I can be found on YouTube at Budget Church Livestreaming. Instagram is the same, Budget Church Livestreaming. Also budgetchurchlivestreaming.com if you're someone who just goes to websites still these days. But those are kind of the main places that I'll be.
Excellent. Well, Josh, thank you so much, man, for coming on board here today. I know it's got to be still morning for both of us. So, but yeah, thanks, man, for coming on board. Really appreciate it. It's been a blast having you. Of course, we're going to have you back. Are you good for that? Would you want to come back on board and talk with us more?
Yeah. I mean, we're scheduled for tomorrow, right? It was just
was it tomorrow? I thought it was Friday, but yeah, I don't even have a watch on. Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, I'm like pretending like my calendar is on my watch or something.
Yeah, let me just pull that up right now. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, totally. Excellent, man. Well, great. Again, thank you, Josh, for coming on board with us, man, today. We appreciate it. Listen, if you are new to the BoxCast universe here at BoxCast, we invite you to check out our YouTube information, all of our videos and our content. Go ahead and click that button down below for a free trial if you're not familiar with our service. We make it really easy to live stream, and with Josh's help, we can make it even easier to run your production for your church. All right. And as always, thank you so much for joining us, for your time, because time is very precious. And we really appreciate you giving us a little bit of that. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Oh, and by the way, happy streaming.